Well, guys, we're finally here. It was totally my fault. My computer, I was already running late today. This was supposed to be at noon, and then I had to take my kid to the urgent care. And Benjamin said very kindly we could push it off, another hour, and I get home perfect timing to start at 1, and had to do an update, had to restart the computer. Anywho, I'm so glad we're finally here. How are you, Benjamin? And I
Yeah,
want to
I'm
make
good.
sure I say say your last name the right way. Will you pronounce it?
Oh, it's just Aeveryn.
Averyn. Okay,
Yeah,
that's what I was
yeah,
going to say. I thought it was much more
yeah,
technical. Overthinking.
yeah, yeah. I know it's a slightly weird one, but it's just the easiest way. But
No,
yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm happy that I'm sitting down and we're talking now. It's the weight's off the shoulders. But man, you've had a pretty cool year. How tell us about what you've published so far, um, the subgenre that you would place it in, and maybe just a little bit about the series or whatever you'd like to go into.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind year, really. So I've published now 2 novels, a novella, and a short story that I put in my newsletter. Um, if you want to count it all up. So Salt in the Wound was my debut in May. And then Black Cap is the novella set in the same world that is also in my newsletter.
Hmm.
Came out a month or two afterwards. And then Secret of the Thistle has just come out a week ago. What day are we on now?
We are on day 28 of November.
Yeah, so 8 days ago, Secret of the Thistle came out. And that's second in the trilogy. I'm hoping book 3 in the trilogy will be next summer, sort of June, July time. And subgenre is tricky. It's kind
Re-
of a blend of multiple things, which I've sort of shot myself in the foot, really, in terms of marketing, because I never really know how to present it. I used to say it was sort of grimdark fantasy
uh-huh.
in a post-apocalyptic world, but I'm not sure if that's completely accurate. It's more of a sort of post-apocalyptic survival mixed with folklore horror with a bit of Arthurian legend.
Ooh,
The time period is technically hundreds of years in the future. The technology is sort of medieval, but the fashions are Victorian England. Uh, so it's a real blend of all sorts of things that I like all mushed together.
I love that whole picture in my head right now. All those subgenres you just touched on. Very excited to dip into that. I mean, if I was going to come up with like the perfect book to read, and I'm not just saying that because we're face to face right now, that would be what I would want the blurb in the back to say. Exactly. Kind of like a gothic, a little grim, kind of dystopian, really miserable. Is there any hope? Little? None?
There is a bit of hope. Yeah, I think
Okay.
I like to keep just sort of like one foot in the grimdark kind of side of things and one foot more hopeful. Like, even though a lot of bad things do happen to the characters and they are morally grey and sometimes things get pretty bleak, I like to have that little bit of hope still there. I think
That's
I'm
even
not
very human.
nihilistic, really. Like uh, I'm more of an optimist who likes to work up from the bottom of things, kind of work up from rock bottom to try and find where that hope is, I guess.
No, I love that. That sounds like I mean this in like the most beautiful way ever. That's a very author-like answer, and the way that it kind of your words, your writing, you really show yourself by going through that process. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Kind of like you have this process and you're writing a story. Now, do you pants outline a little bit of both?
It's a bit of yeah. I think of myself as a hybrid between the two. I think a lot of people would consider me just an outliner, straight up. Um, yeah, like I do like a fair bit
Mhm.
of planning, and I outline to a certain degree. I don't go chapter by chapter and outline exactly what's going to happen, but like I do have like a general structure planned out. Oh, you've disappeared. Am I still here?
I must- Yeah, I think are we back, guys? I can
Oh yeah.
do.
I'm still okay. Okay. I didn't know if I'd frozen as well then. I can see the
Mm,
messages coming up, yeah. Damn
okay, give us
technology.
Yeah, no, it's all good. This has happened before. So just let me kind of do something real quick, and
I mean, it's a
I
miracle that
think
we
we may
can
be
do this
back. I
to begin
I
with,
think we there we go. I think
streaming across the pond.
I do it all the time. Sometimes it's like we've been having like power line issues where we live, so the
Oh,
internet
really?
has been like kind of messed up. So I apologize about that, guys. I think what we were talking about, well, I don't really remember, but hey, we'll restart somewhere. So
Yeah.
it's a darker book. What is your writing process?
This is always a tricky question because I think it kind of varies from book to book. I usually will start with I always have ideas coming to me all the time. It's just something that you can't well, I can't seem to keep them out. You know, they're always churning around, and I always like to take several of these ideas together. So maybe I'll have several different distinct ideas that weren't ever meant to be kind of one thing, and then I'll take them all and mix them together, and that's how I have like the initial kernel that I'll start with before I start like outlining and like building a world. So for Salt in the Wound, I think it was I don't know if I can even remember what my initial ideas were. I wanted to write initially a zombie story, but I wanted to do something different, and so I kind of started reverse engineering what it was I liked about zombie stories. And so instead of a kind of post-apocalyptic world with zombies, I created these creatures called the Rain Whites, which are these ghostly figures that come out in the rain, sort of made of rain.
Now, are they on the cover of Secret in the Thistle?
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
that's what's on
my wife
the
caught
cover
that.
there.
I didn't even see it at first, and my wife's like, "Oh, what are these?"
Yeah,
So
yeah, it
that's
was
cool.
such a
You
hard
touched on it.
thing. Kudos to House, my cover artist, because he did such a great job. And
Who was it? What's his name? Her name? His name?
House, it's ha- it's spelled HouseMaKhairane, I believe.
Okay.
If you want to look him up on Instagram or Twitter,
I'll tag him in the description below.
yeah.
That's you took my wife's question was actually I want to know who did his art because she loves it. She's a graphic designer, so coming from
Oh,
her, it's
really?
like the highest compliment
That's
you
high
could get from
praise.
her
Yeah,
personally.
he's
She loves it.
fantastic and such a nice guy as well. Yeah, he did a fantastic job. And trying to explain like these are creatures are invisible, but you can kind of see them where the rain hits them, and it's such a weird thing to try and visualize. But he did a fantastic job, like trying to make that make sense on the cover.
Yeah, that would be a tough thing. I don't draw. I'm not artistic in the least bit. I mean, I hope to think that I can write a little bit, considering that's what I want to do and that's what I want to learn about by talking to authors like yourself. But yeah, if you were to tell me to sit and draw an idea down, like my head would explode. You start like seeing
Yeah,
steam coming out of my ears, and
yeah.
it
No,
just
I'm the
wouldn't be for
same.
me.
Yeah, I try occasionally. I'll get the urge. You get that creative urge. I think I want to draw today. I want to draw, and I'll sit down,
Yes,
and it's just awful what comes
like
out. It's
I think it's just
embarrassing.
fun though. Like it doesn't matter if it's
It is,
necessarily
yeah.
like this bombshell of a piece. Like if you have fun doing it, man. Like those adult coloring books where you take like the
Oh yeah,
markers or kids colored pencils. Oh, all day. I'll do that. Keep me busy all
yeah,
day.
yeah. They're a lot of fun. Yeah.
They are. They have these new ones at Walmart. I just seen. They're like horror element, like adult horror. Really kind of
Mm.
gruesome pictures that you can get creative with. So I might get one of those because I think I've just
Yeah,
been
that sounds like
inspired too.
something I would enjoy as well.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
I just wanted to shout out some people real quick because of the technical difficulties. I haven't had a chance, so I want to thank everybody that's here. We've got Sako Toomey. Thank you for popping in. Soul Free Wolf, MJ Johnson Books, We've got Ryan Skeffington. Wonderful. I'm glad you're here, brother. An indie author. We have Dreaming Truth author, Felicia. Sorry. Hello. Hello. Thank you for being here. E.L. Montague, good buddy and Discord moderator and fellow writing buddy. He's always here. Thanks, man. Bert, my guy, all the way from New York. Thanks for tuning in, brother. And Esme, I love her reviews. She's like such a community asset. She does so much,
Absolutely.
and she reads
Agree.
at a pace that's
Definitely.
inhuman. It's like, how do you read that fast? Like
Oh
you have
yeah.
a review like every other day.
I could never keep up. I think I'm at nearly 50 books so far this year, and I'm happy with that.
Yes, that's dude. Yeah, I totally understand it. And yeah, you're a family man, right?
No, not
Oh, I
well.
thought you had kids. I'm sorry.
No, I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I must have mixed you. I talk with so many people that
Yeah,
that
that
kind of gets
probably.
mixed up.
I'm
But-
getting married next year, but no
oh,
kids. Yeah.
congrats.
Yeah, cheers.
We also have Isaac Anderson, another wonderful indie author I just chatted with. Let's see here. You guys are chatting away and making it hard. Oh, we have Brian D. Anderson, another one of my just recently found buddies. He's writing in the Conan franchise. The talk to him more about that. That's going to be fun.
I think you're frozen again. The great Esme.
I don't know why it keeps doing that. The great Esme. Yes,
I
can you hear me?
Yeah, you're still blurred on the screen, but I can hear you.
I don't know why it's...
A moment frozen in time.
Yeah, give me just a second, guys. I do apologize. Sometimes it happens.
No worries.
Just bear with us here.
I suppose this is where I should riff and keep everybody entertained, but I can't think of anything to say now.
There. No, you're good, man. No, you're good. I should
Gremlins.
have to cleans up real quick. Okay, I can hear and see you, I think.
Okay.
I think we're back. Sorry, guys.
Okay, super.
There we go. Oh, we've got now. I'll just continue shouting people out. Sorry about this, guys. Sometimes that happens. It's the internet. Not my fault. Matt's fantasy books. I must need some more context for that. Rap for us. I'm not sure who
Rap
that's
for us.
I'm not sure. Let's see who else is here.
How does Matt know that I used to rap?
Oh,
That's
there
freaky.
we go. Oh, so there. I was confused. There is context to this. You know what he's talking about.
Well, I feel like that must be a lucky guess, surely, unless.
Oh no, he would definitely have looked something like that's definitely his thing. It's like a research. I'm gonna find something out that he didn't know people knew. So that's awesome. Tell us a little about that. When did you start? How long did you?
It was one of those, when you're younger and youthful. I was like 17 until I was like maybe early 20s. I used to in various bands, and I was a producer for a bit, and did a bit of rapping as well. Nothing
I love that.
Particularly exciting. I once lost a rap battle to a rapper called Dirty Dyke, who I doubt anybody in the chat will have heard of, but he was like a somewhat well-known rapper in the UK about 10 years ago. So that's my mini claim to fame.
That was the rap moment. Matt, thanks, man. That added some a little bit of a spring in the conversation alongside my technical difficulties. So that one being a little more positive. Thanks, man. Let's see who else is down here. Favorite book this year? What's your have you read a bunch? You said 50, right? What's your favorite book you've read so far?
My gosh, favorite this year. Oh man, you're putting me on the spot now.
Oh, that's what I do.
um, I can't even remember what I've read this year off the top of my head. Let me have a quick think.
Yeah. I'll keep everybody busy. I'd like to know because I like to write those down, and if it's something that I don't have on my TBR, I'm sure that it will be added. Um, so yeah, Book Mama kind of touched on it. Yesterday, we were like out of internet all day, and of course, modern times, you're just like, what are we gonna do? It's almost sad when it happens because it's like how
What do you
disgusting.
do?
Yeah, it's like you know, we are very dependent on that in most things that we do in our modern times here. Uh, I've had the inspiration to freestyle rap myself. I think that I would be good at it. I'm actually not bad as far as coming up with tricky lines and stuff that rhyme. The thing would be
Yeah,
is like actually doing it in front of somebody.
that is kind of the hardest part, I think. Yeah, like it is nerve-wracking. I don't think I could even do it these days. I mean, I used to be slightly powered by drinking alcohol back in the day, but
We
I
were
don't
all
drink
young.
anymore, so
Yeah, I
yeah,
totally get that. They call it liquid courage for a reason, right?
that's the one. Yeah, yeah.
So, did you find one that you would like to share?
It's hard to pick. It's hard to pick one flat out. I can give you a couple.
Yeah.
Assassin's Apprentice by
Oh,
Robin Hobb. I know I'm late coming to her writing, but
I haven't read it. I haven't read it yet.
really, really good.
Yeah.
Might be my favorite fantasy from the 90s that I've read so
Wow.
far. Um, I liked it more than Wheel of Time or Game of Thrones or even The Witcher, I think. It just it blew me
Wow.
away. Red Rising, I really enjoyed as well.
That's on the shelf
Um,
for me to read.
Titan Hoppers by Rob
Oh,
Hayes
Rob Hayes. Yeah.
was just so much fun. I
I
I
was
love
gonna
when
say I haven't
progression.
heard a lot about it. What was it like?
It's like uh it's hard to it's just like really great addictive progression sci fantasy. It's sort of a little bit Cradle, a little bit Iron Prince. It's like people on ships that are like kind of alive and full of monsters. It's really hard to explain it and have it make
It's
sense, but it's just a ton of
like
fun.
a fun adventure.
Yeah.
Something like that. Like
Yeah.
you go on an adventure. Those are my
Yeah.
favorite. I always
It's
get
it's
this
like
feeling.
it's progression fantasy, so it's got that kind of level up sort of mechanic built into it. Which can just be so addictive, like if you know it's coming, you're like, they're gonna level up at some point in this book, but you just have to keep reading to get to it.
It's like I am gonna stick around to see that or to hear
Yes.
that and then see it in my mind. Have you read Dungeon Crawler Carl?
I haven't. I
Oh,
keep seeing that around. I keep being recommended it, but I haven't got around to it.
that's my introduction to lit RPG.
Yeah.
Right. So that, and then Matt actually on his channel a long time ago just talked about how wonderful the audiobook was because they do sound effects and change the voices and like the frequencies and stuff like that to change up the sounds as far as um, like a game show host in particularly.
Oh,
Uh,
right. Yeah.
very much an immersive listen, much more
Yeah.
immersive than like a normal narrator.
Mm.
So I would highly recommend the audiobook
Yeah,
for it too.
I love it when audiobooks kind of go above and beyond on the immersion front. So yeah, I'll have to check that out.
I absolutely agree with you. Um,
Gremlins are back, maybe. I'm still not going to freestyle, I'm afraid to say. Is it a full moon today? Who's your favorite character in your story? That's a tricky one. I don't want to take favorites because I don't know. They're all kind of my babies. So it could change from day to day. Yeah, I can't pick a favorite. No way. Fun facts. I've had appendicitis twice. Is that a fun fact? It's a weird fact. When the trilogy is done, will there be more books to come in that world, Dark Star? I don't want to say yes outright. It is a strong maybe. I have ideas for other things that could happen in that world. I'm just not sure if I'm going to get, if it will be the right time or if things will align to actually write it. But yeah, maybe it won't be immediately. I'm going to write something else first. But yeah. Do you see yourself in any of them? Oh, that's much easier. Probably Faye is the most like me. I have OCD and Faye has OCD, so I kind of a lot of her experiences dealing with that are kind of informed by my experiences. Who is your favorite to write? Maybe Elaine could be my favorite to write. She's just kind of fun and cheeky and chaotic, and that's kind of fun. Ryan Skeffington, what about favorite scenes? I don't want to say what my favorite scenes are because my favorite scene is probably towards the end of Secret of the Thistle. And that hasn't been out very long, so I won't spoil that. But everybody will have to read through to the end of Secret of the Thistle to find out. Planner or Panther, somewhere in between, definitely. Oh, Matt, good question. I really have no idea why Empire in Black and Gold isn't as renowned and beloved as it should be. Yeah, it's just a mystery, I think. Like it's maybe a little dense, but then Malazan is really well known and beloved, so it can't be that. Maybe people just hate bugs, hate insects. I don't know. Now Esme knows that everybody knows everything about my life. Oh yeah, I posted my coffee on Twitter before. Yeah, I used to be a barista, specialty barista. I was head of coffee at a specialty coffee shop, and I hosted a barista jam and went to latte art competitions, and I would you say performed on the Lamazocco. I've forgotten what it's called now. They do this like special bar thing at the London Coffee Festival, and Lamazocco make like the best coffee machines in the world, and they invite a select group of people each year to come and like perform, like doing special interesting coffee drinks. And I can't explain it, but yeah, I used to be a barista and I loved it. Really, it was really great. But now I write, I guess. Freewheeling on a live stream. Yeah. Tell us what something else is. What's got you excited? Wait, is that in reference to something I said a minute ago. I've got a 3-second memory. I can't remember. What I said there. The universe is basically an animal. It grazes on the ordinary. It creates infinite idiots just to eat them. Yep. I guess so. How many books are on your TBR? Darkstar, I've been trying to get my TBR down all year. That's been my mission this year, to get my TBR just like leveled flat. And I got it down to about 10. And that seems to be the number that I just can't get it any lower than, because now it seems to be 1 in, 1 out, or 2 in, 1 out. So there's about 10 books on my TBR, I think, but that's not counting books that are just in my mental TBR, like books that I want to read out in the ether somewhere that I'm vaguely aware of. Like 10 is the ones that I either own or they're on my wish list.
You guys see me?
We're back.
I think I am. Can you see and hear me?
I can see you and hear you. Yes.
Wow, dude, I had no idea you were still on here. What a wonderful thing. Okay, well, let's see if we can try to complete this now.
I've just been trying to keep things going. Yeah.
He's got balls. All right.
Well, chat. It was everybody in the chat really kept it going.
Well, that is actually really inspiring. That's so cool. So it's going to look totally different on my end because the green screen is not going to really work. But I'm using my phone, which uses cellular data, so we'll try it that way. But let's see here. Some comments on the side. Yeah, congratulations, bravo, guys! You did a wonderful job making my guest feel at home. That was great.
You really did.
Matt says, Benjamin, is this your first time reading Rift War Saga? What are your thoughts so far?
Oh my gosh, it is. Yes. I honestly don't have that many thoughts so far. I've only read the first 50 pages, maybe. I'm using it as a sort of because it's quite an easy read, and it's very classic fantasy, and it's very familiar and homely. It doesn't really do anything that I found particularly interesting just yet, but it is very comforting. So I've been going to Rift War. Whenever I just am in that mood that I need something just comforting, I just need to curl up and kind of hide in the familiar. So I haven't been reading it very often. I've been reading it very slowly. But I have been liking it. I think I will get through it. I'm like reading it in tandem with other things. So yeah.
Oh, so I do that as well, and almost like at an unhealthy level. I guess the word I just kind of recently fell into is mood reading.
Oh yeah.
Like I love everything that I'm reading, but there's times in which I read them that are better. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm like, I'm in the mood to read a few chapters in this book, and then I'll put it down for a couple of days. And that's something I actually want to work on as far as like doing reviews. But for like pleasure reading, I think it's really nice to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's sort of necessary as well. Like you can maybe ruin a book for yourself if you try to force yourself to read it when you're not in the right mood for it. So yeah, I kind of try and like, I don't know, listen to what my brain is telling me instead of trying to push through too much.
That makes complete sense. That's why Malazan, and I know Matt, that's his absolute favorite, and I have a pretty good feeling that it's going to be high on my list as well. But I've found each time that I've picked up Gardens of the Moon, it just didn't seem like the right time for me mentally, because I wanted a lot of time to those books.
Yeah, I had the exact same thing with Gardens of the Moon as well. I think I tried 3 times to read it, and on the 3rd time I got through to the end. And then foolishly I went straight into is it Dead House Gates is the next one? I went straight into it, and I was like, I actually I actually need a break. So I read the
Oh,
first chapter or the prologue of Deadhouse Gates. I thought, no, I need to go away, sit with what I've read in Gardens of the Moon, and then come back later on. It definitely is one of those series that you need to really be ready for it.
that's yeah, it's kind of been like the consensus. 1 second here, sorry. There we go. That'll work halfway. So kind of jumping back into some questions that I had for you because I really want to hear more about your books.
Yeah.
Um, I know you dived a little bit into it, but would you dive a little further as far as like the overview, like a blurb? No spoilers or nothing like that, but maybe a character or a couple themes that you touch on.
Yeah, sure. I'll give the kind of the quick pitch that I should have said earlier, but I forgot. Is I call it a post-apocalyptic fantasy with magic whiskey, folkloric monsters, and bloodshed over a fortune in salt. Which is kind of like, that's my elevator pitch. And then
It's a
more in
really good one.
depth. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's really, the first story is ostensibly a revenge story. I was inspired by Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie,
Yeah.
and movies like Kill Bill and stuff as well, John Wick, things like that. But I wanted to tell a slightly different revenge story. So I won't go into too much detail about what makes it different, but it's just a little bit, it's more of a kind of tortured revenge story, like a less certain revenge story. And there's kind of I think that's kind of a similar theme with a lot of the elements in the book. Is I like to take things that are usually like very certain and try to twist them a bit and make them feel a bit shaky and uncertain. Like there's a love story element in the series as well, but instead of being like a kind of a straight romance, it's more of a kind of damaged people who kind of trying to find each other and sort of getting caught in the chaos of the, whatever this thing is between them, and miscommunicating. And so
That's really interesting. And yeah, I agree with, I believe it was Esme. Yes. What a pitch. And Rob Lee,
thanks.
uh, that premise sounds awesome. I have to agree.
Cheers.
And Dark Star 1408 says it's refreshing.
Thanks.
So
Yeah, I'm glad people like the pitch. I start to ramble when I try to get into it further, but I've got that that quick pitch down, so I've got that at least.
well, you know what the book's obviously about. You're the most intimate with this book, and then you find yourself trying to explain things without explaining too much. It's hard. It's not
That
something
Yeah,
easy to do.
yeah, that's the real art to it. Is you've got to get
It's hard.
people interested and excited without really telling them what is actually going to happen in the book. It is tricky. But
And,
yeah.
and obviously, you're very enthusiastic about. You want to tell and show this enthusiasm, so that just makes it even harder. Like, at least that's what I've gathered by talking to wonderful authors like yourself. And
Yeah,
I
I
think,
think it's most authors probably struggle in a similar way talking about their work. Like, yeah,
mhm.
you feel excited and enthusiastic, but you don't want to give too much away, and you don't want to kind of put people off. And it is a tricky thing to talk about.
Middle ground. You know R.J.
Yeah.
Barker. You've heard of R.J. Barker?
Yes. Yeah.
Ty Chell series. Well, I got to talk to him a couple weeks back, and he got to a point where he was like talking about his books and like things in the past, things are to come, and he finally was just like, you know what, fuck it, I don't care. I'm gonna spoil some things if you don't, just I may
Yeah.
accidentally, he's just taking the stress off of himself.
Yeah.
He had finally hit that after like an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah. That could be, a
Stressful.
better way to go. Like, just take the chains off and
Yeah.
just say what you want to say.
What was your biggest inspiration? Like, were you young? Were you closer to the age you are now when you knew you wanted to write? And what was it that
Oh,
kind of proved to yourself that you wanted to write?
I think there's probably going to be, it probably went in stages. there's probably multiple parts to that answer. I started writing when I was 4 years old. So I can't really remember what it was that made me want to start writing. I know my mum, when I was younger, my mum was doing an English literature degree. Because my mum had me quite young. And so I think I was around her talking about books a lot, and a lot of people in my family are either writers themselves or just really into literature and kind of close to it. So I guess I absorbed some of that. And yeah, when I was 4 years old, I used to dictate to my granny, and my granny would write down the stories as I told them to her.
Wow.
But then I got a bit older, and I think I read Neil Gaiman. And I think reading Neil Gaiman was when I first was like, this is something I really want to do. And then I read The Lord of the Rings. I think I was 8 years old, and that was what kind of opened my mind to like epic fantasy and like creating whole worlds. And yeah, I think after that, like I thought like that's what I wanted to do.
Like no question about it. Kind of like I'm so enthusiastic about doing this process that involves world building, characters, getting to really express yourself in the way that you want to.
Yeah, I mean, I always knew, like even from that point, that I definitely wanted to write and I wanted to make worlds. But I would kind of go back and forth on sort of how big a part of my life I wanted it to be.
Mm.
So there were times where I wanted to do other things, it's like for a few years I was really into music, and I kind of that became like my primary kind of creative outlet. And then all through my early 20s, I was working in indie film,
Oh
doing
wow.
script stuff and audio recording and music stuff as well. So that kind of became my primary. And then it wasn't until sort of my mid to late 20s that I kind of came out of the film stuff and I wasn't doing music anymore. And I kind of thought, right, writing has been constant with me through all of this. I need to just focus on that 100% and give it all of my creative energy, and that's what I've done ever
Well,
since then.
it sounds like you've done a really good job of that. I mean, you made it to the semifinals of the SPFBO. How did that feel, man? That must have been like so
Oh
cool. And how was the
yeah.
experience?
Oh man, it was amazing, really. The whole experience, it was amazing and a bit stressful and nerve-wracking, and the sense of community is just crazy with the
Unlike
whole
anything else.
you get sucked into this whole thing, and there are all these great people and great books to read. And yeah, it was really nice, especially having just debuted and feeling a bit like an outsider and a bit unsure of myself. And then, yeah, getting to take part in this competition and feeling like I was sort of part of the community was really valuable.
I felt like an
And
outcast for like 2 seconds, and it was all my fault. Like nothing about this community, like you said, is
yeah,
uninclusive. Everybody's so nice.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, all you have to do is kind of I don't know, stick your head in
Yeah,
and
put
people
yourself
welcome
out
you
there.
in. Yeah, but yeah, it was fantastic. Making semifinals was great. It was a really weird thing when it was announced, because it was I think the next day the finalist was announced. So I sort of had one day of uncertainty.
Oh wow.
And then when the finalists got announced and it wasn't me, it was just this sort of weird mix of like, you're like a little bit disappointed, but also super relieved, and then
I
happy with like how far I did get, and then really happy for the finalist. Is it Hills of Heather and Bone, or is it just Heather and Bone?
yeah, I think
Someone
it's The
correct me
Hills
in
of
the
Heather
chat.
and Bone
Hills of Heather
by
and Bone. Yeah.
who is that? I know she's got um, initials in front. Like I can picture her. Yeah, it's The Hills of Heather and Bone. But
And I'm
that's a pretty
blanking as
awesome
well.
title.
It is also a great book. Which I like 20% through as well. And yeah, fantastic. The prose is really like engaging and is visceral the right word? No. Evocative.
Uh, I think one of the coolest things that I've heard so many times, and you just did it yourself was, yeah, it was great, and I'm so glad that this and that, and but then when whether the person made it to the finals kind of made it more stressful, like you said. Um,
Yeah.
than if semifinals was the stopping point, like you said again. It's like a double-edged bittersweet. Um, and that's understandable. You're taking something that you, especially as an indie author, because you're doing exactly what you want, about what you
Yeah.
want, how you want to do it. And I'm sure that must feel like such an honor to be so high up in that competition, man. That's really cool, and I look up to that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
congrats, man.
It was
That's so cool.
amazing. Yeah, and it is. Yeah, it is such a nerve-wracking thing, kind of putting something out there that is so much kind of a part of yourself. So yeah, any validation that you get along the way is just like such a boon, and gives you like more motivation to just keep on going, keep writing. Yeah, it's great.
Which one of the books, book one or book two or the novella, was the most fun for you to write?
Oh man, that's another really tricky one. I think I maybe enjoyed the process of writing book one the most, but I'm probably more proud of book two. I think book two, I gave myself quite a tight deadline at certain points in the process, and that made it a little bit stressful.
Hmm. So you
And
had a lot
it,
of fun, especially with book one, and then book two kind of put a little more stress on it. But you're
yeah,
more
and it
proud
was
of your
entirely
writing in that.
self-imposed. Like, I booked in for editing before I had a first draft finished.
Mhm.
And so I was like, okay, so I need to get the first draft done, second draft done, send to beta readers, implement any changes from the beta reader, before I reached this deadline. And then it was also I announced my release date, I think, too early as well. Like it ended up that I did actually have plenty of time to get ready for release date. I didn't need to maybe be as stressed as I was. But I think having those like markers in, like I've got the release booked, I've got my editing booked, and it just put like, yeah, this like needless pressure that I didn't need to have there. So for book three, I'm not doing that. I'm going to wait until the book is completely finished on my end, and then I'm going to book the editing in and just take the whole process a little bit more slowly, and just try to let it breathe a bit and not give,
You learn
because
your
like you said,
process.
yeah, like when you're, like you said, when you're self-published, it's everything's up to you, and you've got final say, on everything. So what was I doing putting this extra pressure on myself? Like I was in charge, and then I gave myself a deadline that made me
Yeah,
stressed.
that's hilarious. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah,
It's like
so
I'm in control of what I'm doing, and I stressed myself the way the hell out.
yeah, yeah, it was silly. So I'm just being kinder with myself, I suppose, with
Well,
this
I
one.
like that.
And yeah.
I think a lot of people, then when they hear you say that just now, will really feel that. I did.
Yeah.
Be kinder to yourself, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
It's a hard thing to realize sometimes, I guess. Yeah, like especially with how culture is, people kind of tell you to push all the time and grind, and you know
mhm.
um but yeah, I think sometimes you've just got to.
Without even knowing you personally, they give this advice that you should be this way or be that way without
Yeah.
knowing you as a person.
Yeah.
Um, this is one of my favorite questions. I ask it a lot. Well, you can name as many as you would like. Some authors that have their hand in the way that you write.
um okay, let's go through them. Let's do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mentioned Tolkien and Neil Gaiman earlier. They were very foundational for me, but I don't think they've influenced my modern writing style that much. They really got me into writing, and then my modern style is heavy. Like my prose is heavily influenced by Patrick Rothfuss, Joe
Mm.
Abercrombie, Amal El Mokhtar, and Max Gladstone. Um, Susanna Clarke, Emily St. John Mandel,
Wow.
Martha Wells.
Martha Wells did the she's doing the murder bots, right?
Murderbot. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
they're really great.
I'm so excited to dip into that.
Oh yeah, they're good. Yeah, you've got a treat if you haven't read any of those yet. You've got a real treat getting stuck into those, and they fly
None.
by too because they're quite short reads, and they're quite fast paced as well. So you get through them so quickly, and then you feel really good as well because you're like, I've just finished a book.
Yeah.
You go on to the next one, and oh yeah, they're great. Yeah, really great character work. And yeah, well, I don't really tend to like the sort of robot with feelings kind of genre, but the way she does it is just perfect. Especially having Murderbot be what she calls a construct. So Murderbot is a mixture of biological and electronic. I forgot the word for electronic
Mechanical,
then.
like
Parts.
that's
So it's
incredibly
like,
cool.
yeah. So you've yeah, it's really good, really great.
I forgot what I was gonna say. I don't often do that, but I'll get back to that. I had a good point to make, and
It's probably my
I
fault.
felt like
I've
no, no,
distracted
no.
you.
It's definitely my fault. This is mush today. Um, oh, I was gonna say those are wonderful influences. Um, right off the bat, Joe Abercrombie. Oh, I haven't been reading. Probably like a quarter of the time that most people that I talk to have read. So I didn't grow up loving books. My mom and dad didn't like read to me. I didn't have a love of literature until I was 29, and I'm 33. So I still have a lot of these cool books that I hear you and other authors talk about that
Yeah.
were so foundational to look forward to. So that being one, the Martha Wells, most of Joe Abercrombie I haven't read. I've read some
Oh
of it.
wow.
I love it.
It's kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time, really, because on the
Hmm.
one hand, you get to read some amazing books for the first time, which I'm slightly jealous of, like being able to read Joe Abercrombie for the first time. Like it blew my mind, and it's still amazing to reread the books now, but to read it for the first time will be such a treat. But on the other hand, your TBR must be out of control.
It is. It is. And that's something that is like part of the natural cycle of becoming a reviewer that I had no clue about before. I had this huge inspiration all of a sudden, and then I went balls to the wall with it. And time management, and then I had a newborn, so I've got 4 kids, so that also plays a huge part.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, this time in my life where they're little and you can't really do much of what you want to do right now. I'll miss that, but
yeah,
eventually when that's over, I'll have a lot of cool things to read, right?
yeah.
Man, Patrick Rothfuss is one that I have a lot of indie books to read and do some reviews, and I'm very excited about all that. But if I could sit down and really just kind of take my time and read a book, it would be Name of the Wind right now.
Amazing book. Yeah, so good.
What
So,
is it that you like about Patrick Rothfuss or Joe Abercrombie that kind of inspired you? Was it the humor? Is it their
um,
prose?
yeah, both of their prose, the prose for both of them, but in very different ways. Um, Rothfuss is very precise and engineered and polished and lyrical, and I really respect that. Whereas Abercrombie is kind of raw, um, and it feels effortless, even though I know he agonizes over his prose as well because he says so in interviews. But he
Hmm.
makes it feel like this very immediate, almost like it's coming straight out of his fingers onto the keyboard and then directly to you. It's like this immediate rawness to it. So yeah, they're both master wordsmiths. And both amazing character writers as well.
Ooh,
Yeah, not as strong maybe on plots, but I think that's maybe not quite the point of their work.
the
Is more
characters
to just
made
sort of
in like the characters in the Blade itself made me forget like that not a lot's going on.
yeah.
Uh, oh my gosh, and his humor. I remember there was one night I talk about it frequently. Is um, Baez gets out of the shower at the end of the Blade itself, and something's going on Nine Fingers, and somebody else is raising hell, and he's naked out of the shower, and he said he came running out his flapping fruits Like I sat up
Yeah,
and woke my wife up because I was laughing so hard. But he takes this dark humor and just
yeah.
makes it so funny.
And it works so well because so much else of the book of his books is so dark, and then you
Mm,
have this humor there, and I think that's really the beauty of his work is having that juxtaposition of the humor with the grim dark elements. And I think without the humor his books would probably be just a bit depressing.
yeah.
um but yeah, he can be hilarious.
Another thing,
um
especially from Joe Abercrombie, that I'll remember when I read it for the first time forever is when um, Glokta shows a little bit of humanity himself, because the whole book he's just
mm,
like, this guy's really ruthless. He's has no emotions other than like anger and hate. Um, and his buddy, I believe his name is West. Uh, they have a
mm,
confrontation at the end, and Galactus said, "I can't believe you didn't come to check on me. You know, he's crippled basically, and you didn't come to check on your buddy." Come to find out, Galactus' mother had turned West away, and Galactus didn't know that. And all of a sudden, Galactus a human. I remember that
mm,
moment. It was so inspiring to me.
yeah, yeah. It gets, yeah, emotional.
It does. Um, yeah, so I can't wait to kind of continue with Joe Abercrombie, and then like Patrick Rothfuss. I want to read the Never Ending Story.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I've never read
I
that.
grew up on the movie,
Yeah.
but I hear the book's amazing. Brian D. Anderson has a great question. He says, "What mistakes did you make with story structure that you have since corrected?"
Oh, so many. So many. For years, I focused almost entirely on my prose and my character work because for me that was really what writing was about, and I didn't really think about plot much at all. And then maybe 5 years ago, I realized that this was kind of like a hole in my skill set. So I started trying to correct it, and I bought a ton of books and just started researching and watched lectures and things to try and figure out how to um, structure properly. So what mistakes did I make with story structure? Everything you could possibly do. I think, like having protagonists with no agency, or having, you have that yes but no ands, and if you have yes ands then you don't have a story. And I wrote tons of stories that just sort of went yes and, or and then this happened kind of thing, where there's no real stakes and no real urgency. And yeah, I've every mistake that you probably can make I have made at some point. But I think in a way, that's part of how you learn. You make a mistake once and you don't usually make it again. So
Yeah,
um,
as an indie author, the fact that you're like, okay, I like you said, a hole in your skill set that you're
mm,
noticing that maybe somebody's being critical about with you, or and then you have the courage to go out and learn about what they're saying or what you know to be a part of structure, and learning the definitions and just putting yourself out there and knowing like as an indie author you have to do all that yourself.
yeah.
That's why I choose to talk to a lot of indie authors. It's really inspiring how much work goes into it. Not that traditionally published anymore doesn't do a whole lot of work themselves too, but you kind of fall in where you find your love, and that's indie.
Oh,
Can you still hear me?
we're good. Yeah. All good.
Okay, you can hear me, brother.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, okay, it's my bad.
yeah.
This has been like one of the most technically awful uh, times that I've had live. I'm so sorry for that, dude. Like,
No worries. These things happen,
so
and
sorry.
computers never. It's probably my fault because computers never agree with me. So.
Oh, so I think the first time it happened, I had to reschedule twice with somebody. John Minton from Talking Story, such a nice guy. Um, but it kept doing what it's doing now. It hardly ever happens, but sometimes it does. What I really appreciate though is you guys sticking around and kind of powering through it till I got back. That's so cool. Um, but
Yeah,
let's
no
move
worries.
on. Um, let's see
Can I
here.
just say quickly, if people are having trouble subscribing to the newsletter, can I ask if you have ad block on? If you have ad block, try turning it off, because I've had someone has let me know before that ad block for some reason stops my newsletter form from working. But if you don't have ad block and it's still not working, then something is broken and I need to figure out how to fix it.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. Yeah, that I did have that down there. So Black Cap, right?
Yeah.
Your titles are really good. Um,
Thanks.
I would be interested to know, was it something that kind of just fell in your lap, or did you kind of have this idea before um, you wrote, or did you come up with the title after you wrote the books?
I don't know where Black Cap came from. I think I had the name because it's a sort of detective noir, but set within the same world as Salt in the Wound. So I needed to have like a really good crunchy kind of noir detective name. So Black Cap he's Cade Blackcap, is his name. I can't remember exactly how I came up with it, but I definitely had it before I wrote the story. Salt in
That's
the Wound,
awesome.
I didn't have that until really late in the process. It went through so many different names, I couldn't figure it out, and then I can't even remember how it came to me in the end. But yeah, it's got like a nice double meaning, because the thing that kicks off the whole sort of revenge plot is a stolen fortune's worth of salt. So it's sort of like a nice double meaning, but that people won't get unless they've actually read the book already. So it's not the best as a marketing ploy, but for people who've read
Well,
the book, it probably works.
honestly, though, I may have to beg to differ, because if I hear that, like, that's an attractive title, but I don't know why it's attractive. I know that it sounds attractive, but I have faith that I'm going to learn more about why it's titled that, and I think that makes it a better marketing uh, tool to use.
Cheers.
What do you?
Hopefully.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Still having
Okay.
trouble.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm sure that'll be something that you tweak something really tiny at the end of this, or when you get off here or whatever. Just if whenever you do get
Yeah.
the snaggle dealt with or whatever, let me know, and I'll make sure to send out a post letting people know
Yeah, I'll have
that
to
it was
try and fix that. Is
cool.
the web page loading, but the form's not working, or is the whole page not working?
I'm actually going to try myself if my internet's back up.
Yeah, I might try as well.
I'm using the cellular data now, but let's see here. I think they should warn people if your internet's going to be out. What are you currently reading right now, Benjamin?
At the moment, I am reading Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb and Magician by Feist, and some other books on my Kindle I can't remember. And I've just finished Starter Villain by Scalzi.
Oh,
The sub part
I
doesn't.
think I've heard that. I have heard of that book. I bet if I saw the cover. What I'm reading right now is We Are the Dead by Mike Shackle.
That rings a bell.
Oh, man. If you're a Grimdark fan, which I think we get along really well as far as books, you and I.
Yeah.
Just from talk. You're going to love it, man. It's so good. It's bleak in the most beautiful way. Like, then The Book That Wouldn't Burn.
Oh, Mark Williams.
Yeah. And I can't remember the third and fourth one. I'm drawing a blank. They're two indie books. So I kind of like focus on the indie books so that I can do reviews on them. But then when I get like a free moment to kind of just dive all the way in, I'll start reading it through the other ones. Do you have audiobooks out for any of yours?
I don't.
Okay.
No, not yet. I'm planning on
So
doing a like omnibus one of the full trilogy once once it's finished, once they're all out.
sure. I think that that's a great idea. Another guy that did that is Alex Robbins.
Mm.
He wrote War of the 12 series, and his other the Ruined God series, and yeah. So I know people are always curious to know whether or not you have interest in doing an audiobook. And guys, it's one of those processes that I had no clue was so uh, time consuming, financially
Yeah.
it's quite the process. And it's like when I see people offering free audiobooks to their newsletter or something, I'm like, how are you doing that?
Yeah. Yeah. It's I've looked a little bit into the process, and yeah, it's gonna take it's gonna take some organizing eventually, which is partly why I just want to do one big one instead of trying to fiddle around doing them individually. But yeah, it'll
That
be
makes a
great
lot.
once it's out. It'll be a nice thing to have.
Yes, absolutely. And then also when that happens, you'll have a whole nother wave of fans. There's people who just read or just
Yeah.
listen to audiobooks, so that's also something to look forward, I think.
Mm.
What are you working on right now? What are you working on at the moment?
So I'm about 60,000 words into the first draft of book 3 in the Rainfallen trilogy, which is going to be called A Cask-Aged Blade.
Oh,
And yeah,
that's really
and
unique. I love that.
which is, and I've also started planning the series that I'm going to write afterwards. So I've been doing some just sort of general world building stuff, coming up with like uh basic plot elements and the structure and kind of the sort of aesthetic vibe that it's going to be going for. So yeah, I'm going to be hopefully starting to write that as soon as I finish the first draft of book 3. So got kind of a couple of things going on
Well, that's one cool
at
comment.
once. Oh
Brian
wow,
says, I can get the voice of Dom from Gears of War if you're interested.
that'd be awesome.
He he's he's done indie publishing. He's traditionally published as well. Like he's the OG of this process.
Yeah.
He was a fun interview. If you haven't seen it, you should go check out the one I did with Brian D. Anderson. It was so much fun. He's a very smart and has so much good information for people who want to do this.
Mm. Awesome.
Absolutely. Uh, what's next for you? I know what you're working on. Maybe it's the same answer. Who knows? But what's next for you chronologically?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of the same answer, really. Yeah, just finishing up book 3, starting work on the next series. Can't think if there's anything else.
Do you plan
Oh,
like
I'm
any conventions or
any what? Sorry.
conventions?
No, no,
Okay.
not on the horizon. I've got a short story that I'm going to be releasing in December as like a Christmas holiday thank you to my newsletter subscribers.
That's
So
amazing.
it's like a few thousand words long. I can't remember exactly how long it is, but it's just a fun little story. It's set in the same world. It's a continuation of Black Cap story. So that's the next thing coming out from me, I suppose. Just a little fun story.
Yeah, I usually ask both the questions just because that last one kind of like, oh, what am I doing like next?
Yeah.
And I get like a convention or something along the lines of what you just said. Oh yeah, I forgot this. So thank you for kind of digging and coming up with some immediate stuff. I think people are really excited, man. Um, I like to ask this as well. Who are a couple people you would like to see me interview in the future?
Now, this is a tricky one. Because I knew this question was coming, and I also know who you've interviewed before, and all of my immediate picks that I would think of, I think you've already interviewed.
I plan on having everybody that I've talked to, including you, back for a second, third, fourth time. So
Yeah.
you can certainly
So
give me a couple.
have you had Crystal Matar yet, or is it Crystal Meta?
Uh,
Meta?
she has not been on yet. She will be in the next in January.
Okay. Well, that would have been one of my recommendations.
You said that. I'm so excited to read her book, man.
Oh, it's fantastic. Oh, so good. Yeah, yeah. Especially if you like grimdark. Yeah, it's gut wrenching, and the prose is beautiful. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I don't know. EJ Doble as well.
Oh, yeah, he's coming on the next couple days actually, so that'll be
You've
fun.
got everyone. You've got
Well,
everyone
I
already.
really try to know everybody just because I like to learn as much as I can, and the fact that you're naming people who are on my radar and schedule is just reassuring. And one of the reasons
Yeah,
I asked this question, like,
you're on the right track for
I
sure.
have great people on, the people that are, are people interested in what I'm going to be talking about and who I'm going to be talking with. Um, he's going to be fun, man. His prose is so incredibly dark and beautiful at the same time. I've never read anything like his writing.
Yeah, I've just I've got so many books on my Kindle that I've just dipped into, and I've got them all going at the same time. I read, I think, the first chapter or two of his first book. I've got to get into the rest of it. I've
That
got
first, I think,
I've got so many books I got to get through.
well, no, even if you've only read the very beginning of book one, which is it the Fangs of War?
Yeah, the Fangs of War. Yeah,
Oh my gosh, it just
yeah.
grabs you
His
by the
prose.
throat.
Yeah, it does. It catches your attention straight away for sure. Yeah, very dark and kind of slightly dreamlike as well. It's definitely my kind of
That's
style
very.
of prose. I like that kind of, slightly lyrical.
Well, this one has been a very unique experience, a very wonderful experience. But man, you were a trooper. You got through it with me, and man, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's been
Sometimes,
great.
and you really did uh, amazing and helped me to continue as well. So thank you for being here, and let me borrow you for a little bit. Thank you for you guys that tuned in to watch live, and for you guys that will watch in the future as well. And this won't be the last time we talk. I hope so, Benjamin. I've had a lot of fun, and when I'm done with the books, we'll have you back on, and we'll chat a little deeper.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It's been great. It's been a lot of fun, even with the technical difficulties. It's
As
been a laugh.
character,
It's been great getting to chat. Yeah, thank you.
of course, everybody, y'all have a wonderful day, night, morning, wherever you're at, and we'll see you next time.